How is your relationship with your mom really like? Today, we're not gonna lie. Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of NGL. And in light of Mother's Day coming up, we've put together a very special Mother's Day episode where we're going to come together and talk about our relationships with our mom. And I know that a question like that can get many different answers because all of us probably have quite a different dynamic with each of our moms, and some of us have a really good relationship with our mom, and for some of us it may actually be quite a difficult topic to talk about. But today we're going to have an open and honest conversation and share with you guys a lot of stories from our growing up and how we have come to navigate that as adults. So joining me today are Joanne and Merrick. You guys can say hi to our audience. You guys are going to hear a lot more stories from them because I think three of us have quite different experiences, I guess, of growing up with our moms, right? So we're going to share a lot more about that. So to start things off, right, if I could ask you guys, what is one word, right, you would use to describe your mother and why?
For me, my mom is very unpredictable. So I think, she just erupts sometimes when you just trigger her. But in good times, you also don't get the extra affection, So she's mostly on the extreme end of eruption. It's just, you don't know when you're going to trigger her kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. We will hear more. I'm sure there are many stories that come with that. Merrick, what about your answer?
I think my mom's a very strong person. Okay. Yeah. Literally also because she's a gym instructor, fitness instructor. So like from young, she has always advocated for fitness in my family. So that's great because she asked me to go to the gym even when I don't feel like. So physically, she's strong. But I think emotionally, she's very strong as well. Like I actually come from a single parent family.
Okay.
From young, she has had to do a lot to bring us up. Yeah. Like I have two other brothers. I'm the middle child. Okay. So there's a lot that she had to do to support us when we were growing up. And it wasn't easy.
For me, right, I think the word that I would use to describe my mother, two words are act fierce. It's like I want to say fierce, but actually it's not true because her fierceness does not work on us. We all know pretend only. My siblings and I all had this like understanding when we were younger that if ever in school, right, we feel wronged by our teachers or we feel like we're being unfairly punished, right, we would never tell our mother because my mom, right, will march down to the school office and want to scold the teacher, So in a sense, right, it's quite nice because like she like stands up for her kids, right, and she doesn't want us to be wronged. But then it's very embarrassing because like she's known as that fierce mother who like comes in and like kicks up a fuss. And I mean now as adults we all laugh about it. We're like, next time your grandchild, right, in school like bite the teacher, you're gonna go in and scold the teacher. Why you let my grandchild bite you? That kind of thing. So there's a lot more that comes to that package but I will share more later. I wanna ask you guys, right, what was growing up with your mother like? What are some memories that you guys have?
Okay, maybe I give a bit of context of like my growing up. Actually, I grew up with a complete family, but I don't have a very direct relationship with my mother. Okay. My parents were as hawker, so they actually they're not typical working adults. They don't work like from 9 to 6. Then you pick up your kids and spend time, put them to bed, read bedtime stories kind of thing. My mom goes to work like early in the morning and comes home only at like 10 or 11. So technically, growing up, I don't have time spent with her, and they don't even have like off days or like PH. In fact, they earn more, so they don't even like take off on PH. So most of the times I'm alone at home. Time to time my dad will fetch us, but mostly I grew up with my grandmother. So with my mother, it just feels like she's a mother by name, not a mother by a physical kind of like warm kind of feeling lah. Yeah, growing up, we don't really understand each other. She doesn't know like what I go through in school. I don't have that kind of like, I go and tell my mother, what happened in school. I hear my friends saying that, but I don't have the kind of relationship with her. It's more of like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, great. How's the food? Oh, good, kind of thing lah. So it went on since young. So that's the context of how I grew up. And that's why like it's very unpredictable because I don't really understand like how what takes her off or what pleases her. So I remember and recall that through my younger days, I'm just trying not to step on her toes most of the days. That's me growing up. Yeah.
I see.
Merrick, do you have a very different experience with your mother?
In a sense, there are some parts that are similar, which is like because my mom had to work quite a lot to finance our upbringing or something like that. Because she was a personal trainer, so like she had odd hours, so she worked weekends and public holidays as well.
Right.
Yeah, similar. And it's like weird times, so she would come back then 11 plus at times. I remember like when I was younger growing up, so we would fight a lot because we were all boys, right? All boys like just fight, right? So I remember like sometimes like it would get so bad, then someone would be crying on the floor, then there's three of us, so it's like a chaotic scene. Someone's crying on the floor, then like we don't know what to do, so we just call our mother.
While
Then-
she's at work, y'all call her when y'all fight.
Yeah, then
my
until we
gosh.
remember, you know, like old phones, they have the tone when, or new phones as well, they have the tone when you press, right? So I remember like the tone from my mother.
Hey, I also remember
Right.
the tone
It's
of
like-
what I used to call.
Then I was like, okay, then call. Then she will pick up. I only knew this like way after. She said every time, like, so I asked her like maybe 10 years later, she'll say like, you know, every time you'll call me, I really don't want to pick up. Because you're always just fighting about some random thing. And I was like,
my gosh.
so hurt. No, okay.
But she
curious,
pick up,
eh?
right?
She did.
I'm
Yeah, she
curious actually
always
who calls?
Everyone.
The one who wins the fight or?
No, it's the one that's
No,
losing.
it's the one that lost the
Oh, the one
fight.
that
Because you
lost
need
the
to
fight.
call.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
lost the
right, right.
fight.
Okay, okay, okay.
So like one
that
time,
makes sense, that makes sense.
One time like I took out a knife.
Are you
Then like my
s-
brothers,
win?
yeah, to win a fight.
Dude, oh my gosh.
That's intense, real
No,
quick.
it's just like three of us alone, right? So then after that, they were like, "Oh, you die already."
I'm gonna tell mommy.
They on the spot call.
Yeah, on the spot.
Mommy,
call.
Murray took
Then I
a
was like-
knife.
I was like, "Oh, die already."
Your mother come back with the dumbbell.
Anyway, yeah, she come back and scold me, so that was bad. But my mom, so she wasn't around a lot. But when I got to spend extended time with her on holidays lah. So I think that was nice, and she was stern, but she always gave us the freedom to do what we wanted to do. Yeah.
She was quite chill with you in your
She was
growing up.
chill, and actually like when I was halfway through primary school, I moved to my grandmother's place. So then that was so that like my mom could get some extra income from like renting out the place. That gave me even lesser interactions with her. So like she kind of became like a figure that was like someone who provided, someone who like you don't really see her that much. So sometimes there's not a lot of conflict, you know, when you don't see someone that much, and it's always like maybe she'll send us to school or something like that. And she became like more like someone who was like providing, and that was it lah. So
Actually,
that's-
for both of you, right? Because you have quite a similar experience of your mum not really being around. Was it something you were very aware of when you were younger?
Now that I think about it, I think I do crave for her attention, but because I know a matter of fact that this has been going on since I was in primary school, you know, what will make things change? Even if I have these feelings, it doesn't change anything. So why do I want to feel sorrowful about it or pity party about it? Yeah.
Do you identify with that? Or like, it was a bit different?
I think maybe the beginning part where she said like it's just my life. I there's nothing I can do about
Yeah.
it. Right. A bit like that, but I don't think I crave for my mother's attention.
You're just
that
fighting
much.
with your brother.
Just fighting. It's fighting.
It's a boys thing.
My brother is a boys thing,
It's a
right?
boys thing.
My mom, she was always nice. I mean, it's not like she withheld attention or withheld approval from us. So it was different in the sense that like it was more of there was a lack of time. I think in the small moments that we had, those were times that I remembered. But in terms of like whether I felt like something was like lacking because like my mom wasn't around, not so much. I mean, when you're a kid and your parents not around, then you can just do whatever you want.
It's actually freedom, is it?
It's freedom, yeah. It sounds like it's freedom, right? So like nobody asks you like, where are you? I don't know.
I asked this question because I have quite a different experience growing up. So right, okay, context is my mom used to be quite like a career woman, and so like I have an older brother, right? And so when she gave birth to my older brother, like because she was still kind of like chionging her career, right? So she placed my brother in the care of my grandmother, but my grandmother's house was like a HQ for all like the different
kids
cousins
to
to
come.
come. So what happens when they come? They just play. So like they spend all their time after school playing, right? Then I think my mom came to the realization that my brother has become somebody is like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. My brother was a very interesting boy because he was all play and no work. And so like she say lah, from there he like all play, then say like he got asthma because he every day drink orange juice.
Oh man, that sounds like such a mom thing to say.
The stories I hear.
These are like
It's my-
memes, what? Like
Yeah, but it's my
things that they
favorite.
conjure up
It's
in their
my
minds.
favorite.
Oh,
Yeah,
very
so
amazing.
what Merrick said about like mother not at home, then it's freedom, right? I think my brother loved that freedom. Then my mom was like, I will do differently for my two daughters. So actually my mother quit her job.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
and actually she was really like doing quite well in her career. But I think because she was quite determined for my sister and I to grow up a bit differently, right? She quit her job so that she could spend time with us growing up. So actually, like, growing up, I do have quite fond memories of my mom. Like, she was always very present. I remember, like, she's always the one that fetched me from school, like from kindergarten all the way to primary school. After school, when I come home, she will always be there. So I grew up eating my mom's food because the entire day, like, she cooks. And she's always present. But at the same time, she's not overbearing in the sense that, like, she's always watching over my shoulder. I do still have quite a lot of freedom to do whatever I want at home. And I think it just so happens that my sister and I were quite guai lah. I'm the kind that I will go into a room, then I'll open storybook and then I'll like read.
Wow, good job.
You know, so like quite guai lah. But also because I spent so much time with my mom growing up, right? I know her personality quite well. So I know what ticks her off. I also know that when she's angry, it's empty threats. I used to live at like in a condo but level 1, right? So right outside my house is like the condo swimming pool. So last time, every time my mother angry, right, I already know already. When she angry, she needs a few seconds to go to her bedroom, right, and take the key. So in that few seconds, when she go into her bedroom and find the key, right, I will run out of the house. No, I run out of the house, right, I sit at the swimming pool there because I know that my mother, like, she will not come out, right, yes, to cane me in front of the whole condo.
A very smart kid.
So, yeah, but then I know that I need to wait it out, and if she's still angry when I go home, I confirm die. But I will wait until, like, she need to cook dinner. Then I will go back, right? And then while she's cooking dinner, I will take the cane and then I will throw it behind her bed frame. So that went on for a long time, right? And what happened was that when we eventually shifted out, and then they pulled the bed frame out, right? Behind the bed frame was years and years of canes that I threw away. And eventually she stopped buying canes because she realized that they just kept magically disappearing. So these are like I have a lot of these kind of weird stories of my growing up. But I think there was a sense of like, maybe like a security of knowing that I can relate to my mom like that. And like there is that trust in the relationship that I know that she will not go overboard in her anger towards me. To some degree, I know she say only, she won't really do. And so actually after she has calmed down, like, things will be okay. And so actually, honestly, right now, my relationship with my mom is quite like friend. Like, she like to burn me, I also burn her back. And then like we're quite like savage in that sense. But I think it really came because like I spent quite a lot of time with her in my growing up years, and it's the same for my sister as well. So I think that's why I was curious, like, for you guys as you grew up without your mom, whether that had some form of an impact. For Joanne, right, like, do you remember some like big quarrels or key incidents that I do.
Actually, in fact, like, as you were sharing, like, you know what takes your mom, right? I don't. So I think along the way, I do realize a lot of small quarrels. So all these like accumulate. And I think because of all this, I don't really like look for her attention anymore. I started to have like relationships outside. I was in this relationship that was quite toxic. Now that I think about it, it's very toxic. Another story for another day. But it was toxic to the extent that like this guy doesn't allow me to go home like for past midnight. He just wants me to like stand up against my parents.
Wait, how old were you?
I think I was like 15,
That's
16.
So young.
Yeah. So I remember playing at a basketball court. Then after that, he just said, no, you're not going home. So he took my phone. He took my phone and he don't let me go home. So my parents have been calling since like 9+. Because you know, like secondary school, right?
Yeah.
If you go home past like 8, actually is you are quite dead kind of thing already. Then like at 11, right, I think I'm like maybe like somewhere in between living and dead really, kind of thing. You know, like 11 o'clock, I really like perspiring like at the basketball court. Not because like it was hot, it was at night, you know. I'm very nervous. I know like my mom like has been calling me, but my boyfriend then don't let me pick up. So I recall returning home at about 12+1 o'clock. Right? You expect your mom to be at home, right?
Yeah,
no, my mom was at the void deck. She was at the void deck, right? So she usually return home at 10+11. So at 12+1, right, it means that she have waited since 10+11, right? For like 1 hour plus 2, without being able to contact me. Can you imagine the kind of built up anger, right?
Yeah.
I know that like when I see her from far, I know that, you know, I'm just dead. I'm seriously dead. So she didn't even translate that into anything. She just threw her bag was quite like expensive one, you know. She threw her, I think Gucci or don't know what bag. She threw it on the floor, you know. She didn't bother to pick it up. My dad went to pick it up. She just went upstairs. I remember that night, right? She was so angry, right? She just whacked me for the whole night. So my left arm and my left leg were all totally bruised. So it was bruised to the extent that like I remember like I fell asleep because I was being beaten by her. I think she wasn't okay. I think because of our relationship, she has been quite like emotionally upset or even like borderline depressive because of me. I've been quite a rebellious child lah, because I didn't really want to have a relationship with her. I go up against her.
Yeah.
So because of that, like I know that I fell asleep about 3+4. She like too depressed, right? She just still want to continue beating me. So she woke me up, right, to continue like exercising her rights and just continue whacking me. She was just so upset, you know. I just kept crying the whole night lah. I know I didn't sleep much. So instead I just went downstairs after my mom went to work, right? Then my then boyfriend came to like my house. He picked me up from my void deck and brought me to General Hospital. Yeah, so then he asked the doctor very funnily in Chinese, 验伤, like indicating that it might be a case of abuse. Yeah, but this is one time, you know. It's not like a history of abuse.
It's like one time,
yeah, one time only. Then he
parents,
reported it. Then he's not done, you know. So then from the hospital, he brought me to the police station. So he actually brought me to the police station to report on my parents and said that like her parents are abusive, to sue her parents. Then because of that, like we went through a series of counseling. So I remember the last counseling session, my parents were there. You know, then I'm like, oh no, like all the while counseling is me and the counselor, we talk heart to heart, you know, like share why am I going through such a childhood, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. Then the last day, like I saw them, they were crying. I like a mixed feeling of awkward plus don't want to see you plus like why are you here kind of thing, you know. But from then on, right, things just went dead silent. There's no debrief, you know, or anything. We just like live with our life. So that was a really, really big quarrel that escalated lah. Yeah. And at the point for me, I felt that was it. If I can put out publishing news to say that this is not my mom, I think I'll do that then.
So actually after this incident, because you were quite young, right? I'm assuming 16, right? Like, like how was your relationship with your mom like after that? It's quite a big thing to not talk about and pretend like nothing happened.
It's very bad. I remember because after that, right, she soon after when I was 16, 17, right, she started having breast cancer. I remember like when she had breast cancer that time, I was really quite nonchalant about it. Like even my dad had to beg me to take up a shift, just one shift, you know, to be in the hospital to accompany her, right? I couldn't do it. I just refused. Back then, I was already, my friend brought me to church. I remember like, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't count myself like a part of this family. Okay. But every single Parents' Day, Mother's Day, the preacher will, you know, try to make a call to say, hey, you know, write a letter to your parents and stuff like that. I recall I did that. I really did that. But I never ever sent one. Like even SMS, like last time it's SMS, okay, not like WhatsApp, right? I remember I saved them into drafts. I saved them into like those drafts that never get sent out. Things only started to change when my grandma passed away. I think that was in 2014. I'm still very responsive as a Christian, right? So I still wanted to do something to my mom that Mother's Day. I remember after my grandmother passed away in June 2014, my mother started taking over the cooking duties in the kitchen. So she started to cook. She started to want to find out more about like what we want to eat lah. Then I think that Mother's Day in 2015, I decided that my resolution for that prayer, that Mother's Day, is to start to say thank you to her after every meal lah. Wow. Okay. So I think that wasn't tough because it's like anybody will say thank you. You go to the restaurant, you say thank you to the waiter also. So I say thank you to her, you know, kind of thing. So I thought that like she wouldn't take to heart anything, right? So I just started saying thank you, you know. So every meal I did that. Yeah, I started doing that. It was initially awkward. It's like, thank you, you know, kind of thing. Like, ma, thank you. Then I walk away. You know, I remember I was still perspiring the first time I said it. Because like quite nervous, you know. From what became very mundane and very simple that I had no thoughts given about it, right? It actually meant something to her. I realized she started cooking things that I might like. She started to find out what my preference, see what kind of dish. She don't ask one, typical Asian parent. She'll see what I finish. Then she will conclude that, oh,
yeah, but that's quite cute.
Yeah, they will like, she knows that I like this lah. So from there I realized that she started to also share to my relatives, right? She'll say, girl will say thank you, you know, after every meal. Then they started laughing about it. I'm like, how come like my relatives will know about it? It means that it meant something to my mother that she actually shared to them. This is something very personal, you know. So I realized that actually she took it to heart. I realized she became proud of me. She started to talk good about me. We started acknowledging that God was in the center, and they knew that had something to do. That was the equation. That put something to the equation of our relationship right now. Yeah, it couldn't have been like this unless something happened. But it was only like when I saw my mom appreciating all these little thank yous, I decided to do something about it even more.
Then then actually, like, how is your relationship with your mum now?
Strangely, we are very, very close now.
What?
Okay, but it's not an overnight thing. Now we are very close. Like, she helps to take care of I'm married, okay, now I have 2 kids. So now she takes care of my son over the weekend whenever she can. Technically, we call on a daily basis now.
Wow.
You know, just now you mentioned that you didn't really want your relationship with your mum to get better, right? Actually, like, why?
For me, right, I think I already lost that hope to believe that things would change, because it's not a 1 day or 1 month thing. It's actually years of like this strained relationship, right, that I don't even dare to hope for any change in our relationship. In fact, status quo would be kind enough to our relationship really. It's like, I don't need you to try, I don't need you to do anything about it, but let's not further quarrel. That's it, you know. Yeah, because it's so bad that any hope would be like, 设想, you know, what am I thinking, what am I wishing about, you know. I don't have that kind of like little faith or even hope to begin thinking. I don't entertain these thoughts, because it would just lead me to feel that like, what if things could be better, but I don't have it. Yeah. If it's not a constant nagging and the encouragement of all this like the church and God's reminder, right, I wouldn't reach where we wouldn't reach where we are today.
So what you're saying is like, because you kind of in a sense force yourself to step out and make the first step, even if it wasn't like 100% sincere, but because of that there was kind of a change of heart on your mom's end, and then that caused a change of heart on your end. I just feel like it's quite crazy to hear the past that you and your mom had, and the fact that right now, okay, number one, that you entrust your child to her and allow her to take it. No, because that's a big thing. I think the fact that there's very little trust in each other growing up, right? And now you can entrust somebody who is extremely precious to you, I believe, to her, and allow her to take care of him.
Yeah.
Actually, have you ever wondered? Because like, I mean, to put it bluntly, it's like she never really take care of you as you're growing up, right? So now will you wonder like, you know how to take care of
I
the kid
do.
meh?
She will always tell me things that in Chinese, if I can translate, like, 我从小就带大你们3个，我这么不会. So she always say that, right?
So she bring you up lah.
Yeah,
Why
she bring
don't
us
know how
up.
to take care of
Why
kids?
cannot take care? And she brought the 3 of us up, you know. Why can't she? Why won't she know? I wanted to reply her, say you were not even around, you know, when I was changing a diaper, kind of thing lah. But I knew that she wanted. I think that was her way of wanting to love me, by taking care of my kid. So I even though there might be like doubts, right, I will still choose to like allow her to take care of my kid, because I think trust starts from somewhere.
I just think it's very interesting that you would even have this perspective lah, because I do feel like a lot of people who may have gone through a similar thing than you, right, it's just a lot easier to like not extend that trust, or even feel like, you know, now, for example, I know somebody, right, who like whose mom also wasn't very present lah in the growing up years, and then now that the mom wants to step in a little bit more to take care of the grandchild, right, my friend actually feels like upset. He's like, how come you don't want to take care of me but you want to take care of my child, you know? Like, did you ever feel that?
Actually, I didn't. I think this is something that is very new to me. In fact, I think because in the later part of our journey, I started to enjoy her taking care of like my needs, like in terms of cooking, right? I wanted her to catch up on that, right, with my kids.
Wow.
I think God brought about a change in perspective, helping me to see that actually, hey, my mom, perhaps why she's been working, right, is because she wanted to financially support us. You know, she worked very hard. There's also a reason why she worked so hard. I think I started to see these little things when I grew up. Like, it's not by choice to be scalped by oil while working. Like, who really want to put yourself in an environment to work like that? You know? And they don't really earn like a lot. It's like good enough lah. I'm not saying like it's very little, but it's good enough to take care of us. And I see that like these are all ways of her loving me. That's why I want to give her that platform to love like my kids, so that she has a way to release her love for me that's lacking back then, right, to my kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a fresh perspective, I have to say. Yeah. Merrick, how do you feel like hearing Joanne's story? Quite intense, right? You didn't
Very
expect
intense
this.
story. My story is not the same. I believe the question was the biggest quarrel, right?
Yeah.
I was in a boys' school in primary school and in secondary
Not surprised.
school.
You grew up with boys.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't have toxic relationship at the age of 15. But my story is, so I mentioned just now briefly that I went to stay with my grandma, and around in secondary school, we moved back with my mother, and then we were staying together, and things were okay for a while. So that was also around the same period where I got invited to church, and at that point in time, I thought that it was something interesting. I thought it was like, okay, people asked me to go, and it was fun. So I went, and I remember like my mom was saying like, the thing that moms say when people start going to church, which is like
信就好，不要迷.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can believe in it, but don't need to become so involved lah.
Exactly.
And so committed.
So she like told me that in a quite a subtle way. Then I was like, it's okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm a very smart kid. Yeah, something like that. Something to that extent. So gradually, I understood more about the faith and became more involved in church. I stopped going home
Straight after school and then.
Yeah. So like I would be home like a bit late, maybe 11 plus, and I'll be out for school, right?
So like your
7
parents
to
never
11.
scold you. My mum like scold me that
No, but
day.
to be honest,
I'm a
right,
free
my
bird.
mother also never scold me.
Oh.
So that's part of the fake fears. She will say my curfew is 7 o'clock, right? Then I come back at 9 o'clock, nothing happened one.
Wow.
So I know the 7 o'clock fake one. But yeah.
Did I have a curfew? I can't remember I had a curfew, but I probably broke it a lot of times. Yeah, so it doesn't like matter. So I think like it reached like this tipping point. Like actually my other brothers also, they weren't going to church. I'm not sure what they were doing actually. so anyway, everybody was out of the house, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
my mom's just alone. She wake up in the morning, then no one's at home because everybody goes to school or something like that. And then she goes home, and then there's no one at home.
Oh, actually quite sad.
Yeah, so it's actually quite sad if I think back about it. But like I was just a young kid, right? So like obviously I never thought about that. I was like, I was going to church. I was making friends. Church is good, right? So something like that. And then it reached this point where I think she was also going through something herself that me as a kid was like unable to understand, because up till then, I mentioned that like my mom was like a provider. The connection was more like you give me things, you provide for me, and then like we have the same kind of normal relationship like a parent, but we don't really talk about our feelings, especially when I'm surrounded by my brothers. Like who says like I'm sad? Nobody.
Yeah. If you
Nobody
really
said-
sad, you just go to the room and then you just sleep off.
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah, that's how we dealt with it. So she was going through something, and then nobody was home, and then there was one point where she confronted me about it, and then I was like a bit indignant. I was like I felt very self-righteous because I was out. I thought like
Doing
I was
good things.
So you being a good
yeah,
kid lah.
doing
It's not
good
like you
kids,
go and do
right?
nonsense,
Right. So I was like, I'm not out beating people or like
holding knives.
Yeah, holding knives. I've grown
Maybe
out of
she had
holding
thought,
knives. So after that, we fought, we quarreled, and this quarrel that was the biggest that I remember was very significant because I was like 17. Like it was quite old actually to be hit by my mother. So I think before then I haven't been like disciplined by her like in a long
Like
time.
physically disciplined.
Like physically disciplined, because
Okay.
like you would think at some point it's like I think 不会被打了, like
Yeah
I won't
lah,
get
yeah
hit
lah.
lah. Then this like argument escalated, and the build up of tension over like don't know how many weeks and months, and then she like hit me like with like a metal hanger. If y'all have experienced it, it's I don't know how it compares to a cane. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's more economical because you would buy hangers anyway to sun clothes.
No, so that was my mother's strategy after I threw away all her canes. I started getting whacked by the metal hanger. It's very
painful, it's
pain. It's more painful than a cane.
Because it's very
It's
thin.
thinner, yes.
Yeah, so
But yeah,
I was
not
like,
at 17.
it's not just like physically pain, but like I think I felt like shameful, or like I felt like
It's humiliating lah.
yeah, it's yeah. So I felt like, what is this? And I couldn't deal. I remember I was so angry. I was so mad. And I can't remember if I cried, but I usually don't remember when I cry. So, but and I remember just in the week or the following in that week or the following week, I had to meet a church leader. And then I didn't intend to share this because like it was pretty embarrassing, but the conversation led to it anyway. And then I shared about like this like incident that happened at home and how I felt. And the church leader was very understanding in a sense that like provided like different perspective to me, which is like your mother is also a person that requires care, that requires love lah. It's just like it's not just like a one-way relationship. And I was a unable to comprehend that because I don't think you ever had to confront the reality of having to provide emotional support to your parent at such a young age.
Yeah.
To me, that was like difficult. Provided with this perspective, like after this whole quarrel, that like, you know, maybe your mom needs you to be home a bit more, and actually it's important for you to be at home for your mother as well. I was like, it's gonna be tough. So I deliberated over it for like a very long time. So it was either Mother's Day or her birthday. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make up for it because I'm a good kid. So I bought earrings. I've never bought earrings before that. Okay. And up to this day, I've only bought earrings for my mother and like my wife. So and then I wrote a letter. Just like, you know, how you had to write.
Similar, right? That must be
Right.
same like service
Wow,
that
but
you attended.
It must be. Because like, so I wrote a letter. I was like, okay, what I think I probably was thinking like, okay, what does the Bible tell me that I need to love the people around me, and my mom is the person around me. So after that, I was trying to love her, but it was so cringy.
I know, right? That's why my letters never get sent.
Okay, so I don't know. I guess I don't regret it, but like I'll never do it again. Okay, so
if ever she talks about the letter, will you feel
okay,
very
wait, let me
embarrassed?
tell you the end of the story first. Okay, so the end of the story was right. Okay, so I was like, okay, you know, every good gift comes with a good card. So I wrote the card. Then I was like, what will turn things around? What is appropriate here? So I told my mom that I loved her. It's like
Past tense
it's-
or like
Love
I
that.
love, I love, I love present.
Right.
Right. So I said, I don't know what I said. It's very cringe. Maybe I don't want to say it right now. It's not that I forget. So, but I said that, but I didn't pass it to her in person. So you know how like she wake up in the morning, everybody's gone, right? So I just put on the table.
Oh my gosh.
typical That's
go
my
to
plan also.
Right. Then I come home, it's gone.
So it's not awkward. Yeah. She received it.
She received it and the door was closed. So I was like, okay.
She must be smiling.
Good.
But you won't know.
So what happened was that I walked past her room, then I looked at her wall, then she put up the letter, and I was like,
Do you not cringe at what you write?
yeah, that's why I was like, no, please don't put up this kind of letter. This kind of letter is like not meant to be put up.
You should frame it up like on
No, she
laminate.
didn't. Wow.
Eh, honestly, right, she live in a family of boys. I think she maybe only get one letter. You know, I don't know how many years of being a mother. Let her frame.
Yeah, so from then I knew that was like her way of like telling me that
Framing
like,
letters up.
Like we're cool. We're cool, right?
like we're cool.
Yeah.
You understand what's going on, and I think from there actually the relationship between my mother and I, like it took a huge turn in a sense that it became more of a two-way relationship. It became more of like not just you are always providing for me financially or in terms of like functional needs, right? But also we were able to be there to be emotional supports to one another as much as I could as a kid growing up, right? I think we started to have like more conversations as if we were like friends.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, up to today, like we have very much continued that. So we're very much like friends. So I will go to gym with my mom. Like
No, not
when-
forced now.
not forced.
Willingly.
Forced, willingly. So like I'll be in like uni, right, year 2. Then my friends will ask me, where are you going after like class? And I say, oh, I'm going to gym with my mom. Then they'll be like,
Oh, cool.
what?
No, so they ask you, you train your mom? No, my mom train
No,
me.
my mom train me. You want to see my mom deadlift 80 kg? Here. Honestly, I think it was all about learning how to love her as a person, and yeah.
I totally identify with that. In fact, like, because I was thinking as y'all were sharing, right, what was the biggest quarrel with my mom? The context is that I think my mom as a person is actually quite short-tempered. So it becomes common to have this kind of like a bit tense, a bit upset, right? But it doesn't really last very long one. And it blows over very quickly just because like, it's like breathing like
So often that.
it's like she's just quite like easily triggered. Then when she's very triggered, right, my mom is the kind that expresses herself. So she's not the angry and then like face black, you know she angry, but she never say she angry, you know she angry. Right? So like when she angry, then I just like, okay lor, you having a moment, right? So like, like I just like, okay lor, when you cool down, you cool down. Then sure enough later she will just take some cup of orange juice and put on my table and like, nah, drink.
This is a typical mom.
Yeah lah, so like every time she angry, just angry lor. But I think because of that, like growing up, like we don't really like talk through these moments because to me it's like when you are upset, you are clearly having a moment. So like why don't you go and calm down? But honestly, now I think about it, I feel like I quite bad as a kid. Like, it's quite judgy. Like, it's a bit self-righteous because I just feel like maybe I control my anger better than her. So when she's angry, right, then like it's as if I'm the adult and like, oh, you calm down. Then after like you calm down already, let's like talk about it or let's like move on with life. So as an adult now, I feel like that was very bad. Don't think about your parents like that. So I remember there was this one time, right, like I was very, very upset at something that she did because I felt like it was very, very unfair. If I'm not wrong, I think I had an argument with my sister, and sometimes my arguments with my sisters can escalate quite a bit lah, because we just both like go back and forth. Y'all take out knife, right? The knife is in my mouth, and I'm like, so like really quite intense. And then I think my sister was very upset, but my mom came in, right? And then because my sister, when she's upset, is a lot more intense than I am, so my mom sided my sister to like kind of like deal with the situation and kind of put out the fire. Wow, I was so pissed off. Then like in my head, right, it's like the entire narrative was like, oh my gosh, you baby her, and because of that, like now she's so emotional, and then when she's emotional she can't reason, and it's all because you baby her, and it's always your fault. But of course I didn't say that. Then I had to leave the home, like leave house for something, right? So I decided, okay, let me do the responsible adult thing and communicate. So I attempted to like send my mother a text. I've never done that before because like we always just like pretend nothing happened, right? So I was like, it's growth for me. Let me send her a text to explain rationally why I'm feeling upset. So I did. It was not even emotionally loaded, okay? I just told her like the reason why I was upset was because I felt that in this situation you should not have come in and done this. And then I explained how I felt the impact of that was, right? And then she read it immediately. And then the reply that came back, right, was, you don't send me this kind of message.
Wow.
Oh.
I thought I want to explode in the taxi. Like,
Oh no.
I was so angry. I was like, I finally made an attempt to communicate with you, and your response, right, just completely confirmed the assumption that I had of you. I really hope she don't watch this podcast. I feel so awkward.
Ooh.
But then after that, right, obviously I was very pissed off. But I think I took some time along the cab ride, right, to really just like calm myself down and ask myself like why I'm feeling so angry, right? And I think obviously one part of it is that I felt very, very unheard. I felt like a lot of the maybe like accumulated like assumption and experience with my mom over the years of growing up like was just confirmed when I made an attempt to reverse it, right? But I think I came to a point where I thought to myself, right, like not in a jaded way lah, but is it new to me that my mom is like that? Actually not really lah. It's just that in this moment I am emotionally invested in it, and so it pisses me off, right? But it's honestly not new news to me that my mom can be a little bit hard to engage when she's feeling upset. And if I cool down and I thought about the situation, or even if I put myself in my mom's shoes, right, knowing that she's still upset in that moment, that her two daughters just kicked up a huge fuss at home and she had to step in to try to just calm things down. Then one of the idiots that started this fight at home, right, go and send her this long text about like how she should not have stepped in like that. Then I like, okay lah, fair lah, I know why she angry. I wish you would have sent me more than those few words, but I can understand why you would have been irritated by that message I sent. But I think as I thought about it more, there was a point where I think I had to come to a place to accept that there are certain things about my mom that I feel I have known over the years of growing up. I do sometimes wish that she could be different, but at the same time, I think I have a decision to make as to whether or not I will continually hold this against her, or if, especially as an adult right now, I can learn to accept that she's like that and also be more aware of the many other things that she is. I think this was quite a big one to me because it was one of the biggest things that I felt about my mom that was a bit more negative. I think generally I do have quite a positive impression of my mom and like fond affection for my mom, but I think especially when it comes to moments where I feel she's angry or I feel she's unreasonable, right, my instinct is to disengage because I just feel like there's no point. But after like this incident, I think when I attempted to engage and then it was not really received very well, right, I think it was kind of like an opportunity for me to really think about it on my own. Like, so for example, things like, can I accept that maybe my mom really might be a certain way? Do I still believe in the value in engaging her and not just disengaging? And that's a decision that I make because of who I want to be, not just like how she treat me, right, or what I think she's like. And if I decide that it's important to me that I want to build a at least neutral relationship with my mom, we don't have to be besties, but like, you know, if I want to at least be able to talk to my mom in these moments and not just automatically like already disengaged and just like don't care her, right? Then I would like to learn how to better do it lah. If I could redo that situation, maybe I would have had a face-to-face conversation with her the next day when everybody has calmed down, not like immediately after through text. You know, things like this. But I think that was a whole process of learning to see myself as an adult and also then learning to see my mom as a fellow human being. I think a lot of that disappointment came when I was growing up because I just think that as my mother, you should be more mature. Right? Like
certain
as my
expectation.
like as my mom, you should know better. You should be the one teaching me how to control my anger. Right? You should be the one that's teaching me how to communicate, right? Then how come like I need to like learn how to navigate you and I need to learn how to manage you when you're upset? I just feel like shouldn't it be the other way around? But actually as I grow older, I just realized that she's just human lor. In the same way I imagine if I become a mom, right? Like I'm not going to magically get over my faults. You know, like if I am stubborn, which I am as a person, I'm not going to magically become extremely open-minded just because a baby came out of me. like what, the 9 months other than giving you food, you also give me some open-mindedness, man, no, right? So like, I think when I came to realize that, actually, my mom is really just a human being who is also still navigating life and deciding how to treat the people around her, including me, right? I think it gave me a bit more like it allowed me to see her with a lot more patience and grace and realize that actually some of these things can I accept? Can I learn to communicate with her? Can I learn to maybe even like talk properly and raise it if it's really an issue, right? But at the end of the day, respect that it is also her decision whether she wants to take it or not lah. Yeah. And funnily enough, I do feel like my relationship with my mom in terms of this whole like communicating and her being able to hear me properly, right, actually became better after I shifted out. And I think it's because she started to see me more as an adult. So we actually can have quite open conversations where now I talk to my mom like she's my friend, actually. And like it's things like sometimes I feel like my mom's tone is really not the best because she can be quite impatient and easily frustrated, right? Actually, I call her out on it. Like not in a like that on the spot lah. But sometimes after she say finish, right, then I sit down next to her, then I'll tell her, actually your tone really not very nice lah. Like and I don't think that you should have talked to whoever like that lah. Then she will try and defend. They're like, yeah, I know, but then I think it is still not very nice that you said it in that way. Actually, she will take it leh. But then right, when my sister said to her, she don't take it. So I think it really is her learning to accept that we are also growing up and we become adults, right? And then we really just learn to relate to each other as people. I think that was quite a big shift lah in my dynamic with my mom.
Yeah, for me, like when my mother saw me as someone who could make rational decisions at home beyond just like I feel like I have a very similar experience to you because like I felt like I have tried to level with my mom on that level because it's like you know,
level with me.
You are very emotional, mom. It's like worst things to say.
Yeah,
die already.
Confirm die.
Yeah. So, but I think once she saw beyond that, all of the fancy language that I was using with her, and she saw like, oh, actually, fine, 你快懂事. Then I think that's when the dynamics always change.
Yeah. Do you feel like becoming a mother yourself, it helped you to maybe understand some of your mom's intentions towards you?
Yes.
Even if it may not have been expressed in the best way.
Yes. Very, very like recent experience is that when when you prepare snack box for your kids, right? So I realized that he doesn't like to eat the skin, like the bread skin, right? I would like usually like cut out the skin and then like give him the bread, right? Then I'll eat the skin. That it dawned upon me like, hey, actually like my mother always say she like to eat fish bone. I don't think she really like to eat fish bone. Your mother like to eat fish bone? Yeah. I started saying that like a mother's love, right, may not be in the very, very big things that they do. It can be in the very mundane things. It can be in the constant things that they do. For example, like, I think if my mom was really a bad mom, right, she wouldn't have showed up. I think if my mom really like wanted to be absent, she could have just went for a holiday. Why does she need to work so hard? So I realized that like, these are the things that we don't notice are actually mom's way of like translating that to like, hey, I care for you. Also right now, even when I love my son, I don't think he knows. Why do I want to have him have a routine? Why does he have to have a nap? It's because like I don't want you to be cranky in the later part of the day, but you won't know. So as a parent, like I do see it now, and I realize how come sometimes my parents limit certain things.
But yeah, so I guess as we come to the end of the episode, right, given that it's Mother's Day and we spend quite a lot of time today thinking back on our relationship with our moms growing older, right, if there's something that you could say to your mom this Mother's Day, what would you say?
Why not Merrick?
Merrick, this is your second card.
Oh,
Maybe
second
your mother
card.
will cut
Can you
this,
make it
right?
longer?
And then put on her Instagram.
all right. Get ready. Hi, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Wow, so deep.
That's all.
Okay, we move on to Joanne first. We will totally cut that in, by the way. But we'll move on to Joanne first, and then we give Merrick some time to think of his sappy message.
Happy message.
Since then, I haven't even write a message for my mother.
Ooh.
But I mean, if I can do this in Chinese, I would do this because she won't understand English. So whatever I said just now, she actually don't understand.
Wow, good for
So
you,
anyway,
man. My mother totally understands English.
So like, if I can say it in Chinese, because it's more meaningful, right? Like, Ma, thanks for trying to love me through the years. I think 我记得你有讲啦, like, you know, you take a long time to love for. So, thanks for trying to go through those tough days and not giving up on me. I think 我不是一个很容易爱的孩子啦. Plus, like, I'm so rebellious and you still choose to stick by. Thank you. I will take the rest of my life, right, to honor you and to learn to be better. 我会继续谢谢你煮的每一餐，请你多煮一点虾，因为我蛮喜欢吃的。谢谢你啊。
Merrick, how you gonna top that?
I cannot. I feel like I'll just copy what she said.
You just translate to English and then what she said.
Mother. I'll just okay. I'll try. Okay, Mom. Happy Mother's Day. I appreciate you a lot. I know it's not easy trying to bring us up, and we don't convey our emotions a lot, but I'm very thankful for you in my life, and have a good Mother's Day.
Fantastic, Merrick. You did such a good job. Okay, my turn. Actually, I also feel very awkward because I don't do these kind of things with my mother. It's just like, I love you, that kind of thing. I would say to my mom that, like, I think from the way you take care of my baby nephew, who is now your precious grandson, I think I catch a glimpse of how much you must have loved us as babies and as children. And when I see the kind of affection and devotion that you pour into taking care of him, I really know that that was the same reason why you quit your job, to take care of, like, I won't say her name, Mei Mei. And I'm very grateful. I think I didn't understand when I was younger that being able to grow up with my mom was a privilege. But I think as I grow older, then I now know that because I had a mom who was always around me and was always present in my life, like, it made a big impact on how I see myself and how I am even able to be secure as a person. So I'm thankful for that, and take care of my kids. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we did it. We came to the end of our Mother's Day episode, and today we shared a little bit about our stories with our moms, but I assure you there's so much more. I'm sure there's so much more to Joanne's story, but also we are very happy to hear where you are with your mom today. I think coming to the end of the episode, one thing that I would want to say is that I know that this barely captures, like, all of your experiences with your mom, and I'm sure that there are still some of us who listen to this and feel like there are real difficulties in your relationship with your mom that is hard for you to navigate, that is hard for you to even get over. And I want to assure you that we are always open for conversations. We actually have a Telegram group chat where we would love to have conversations with you about this. We are not too far away, hiding behind our screens in offices to engage with you. And if you would like somebody to talk to you about your relationship with your mom and maybe even just, like, bounce thoughts with you, like, please feel free to just slide into our DMs and our Telegram channel, and we would love to talk to you this Mother's Day, especially if it usually is a difficult weekend for you. And so with that, we've come to the end of our episode. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it, to share it with anybody who would enjoy it as well, and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at ngl.people, and you can find our content on YouTube, Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts. We hope to see you in our Telegram group chat, and until next time, we'll see you in our next episode. Bye!
Bye!